Yo, guys, Urb'n Barz brings you the best UK reactions to rap, hip hop, and urban music from all around the world. Guys, we are back here with our man JBP, Jordan B. Peterson, because Jordan B. Peterson just brings it each and every time. And guys, today he's got something which is, yeah, it's piqued my interest because I'm interested in this. I hope you guys are too. And it's all about why is it so hard to sit down and work? Guys, this is going to be interesting. Let's check out JBP and why it's so hard to sit down and work.
Tension, for example, is mediated by unconscious forces. And you know that perfectly well. And this is another Freudian observation. You know, if you're sitting down to study, for example, your conscious intent is to study. But you know perfectly well that all sorts of distraction fantasies are going to enter the theater of your imagination.
I call that monkey mind, and that normally happens to me at night, trying to sleep, etc., etc. But JBP is so right. There'd be so many occasions, like say, for instance, I'm sitting down here to do a reaction, and I'm sitting down here and I'm thinking, well, and guess what? My mind starts to dream about other things, or I start seeing different feeds, etc. And then 10, 15 minutes have passed, and you think, really, what's going on? It's almost like when you have something that you want to do, something else comes in its way to stop you from doing it. I've never understood the reason why that happens, but I remember actually when I was studying at school, when I was 14, 15, 16, same thing. I would find other things to do. Really, I would tidy everything up, or I don't know. I don't know if there's anything to do with anxiety and stress. I'm just hoping that our man JBP is going to tell us. Guys, I'm going to wheel that back again because that was very true, and it's definitely true in my sphere.
Your attention, for example, is mediated by unconscious forces. And you know that perfectly well. And this is another Freudian observation. You know, if you're sitting down to study, for example, your conscious intent is to study. But you know perfectly well that all sorts of distraction fantasies are going to enter the theater of your imagination non-stop and annoyingly. And there isn't really a lot you can do about that except maybe wait it out. So you'll be sitting there reading and your attention will flicker away. You'll think about, I don't know, maybe you want to watch Jane the Virgin on Netflix or something like that. Or
I've not heard that one. Jane the Virgin on, well, I haven't got Netflix, so guys, if you know what Jane the Virgin is, let me know in the comments section down here. Netflix.
Maybe it's time to have a peanut butter sandwich, or you should get the dust bunnies out from underneath the bed, or it's time to go outside and have a cigarette, or maybe it's time for a cup of coffee.
This is so true, guys. It is so true. There is so many distractions that stop us from actually doing what we set out to do. You have to have a very, very strong mindset to not get drawn by those distractions. Guys, it's not easy. I mean, I get drawn away from what I'm meant to be doing. And I want to say to myself, really? Oh my goodness.
It's like all these subsystems in you that would like something aren't very happy just to sit there while you read this thing that you're actually bored by. And so they pop up and try to take control of your perceptions and your actions nonstop. Maybe you think, well, this is a stupid course anyways. Why do I have to read this damn paper? And what am I doing in university? And what's the point of life? It's like...
The funny thing though is I get it, what our man JBP is saying, but it doesn't just happen to me when things are boring. It happens to be where I literally, for instance, like you turn on your computer, whatever, your mobile phone, I don't know, whatever piece of, junk, whatever piece of, I don't even know what you want to call it, hardware it is. And literally, as the machine's booting up, you actually have gone there for a specific reason. Like say, for instance, you've got a problem with your local council or whatever. By the time the machine's booted up, something else has slipped into your mind. So that initial thought process you had to actually say, well, I'm going to log on, get onto the council and deal with the issue, whatever. Suddenly your attention is drawn to something different, and then suddenly like, I want to do something here. Like I want to do something on JBP. I log on and suddenly I'm looking at something else. It's weird. It's weird. And hopefully I will learn how to knock those distracting thoughts out of my head. Hopefully.
In your actions non-stop. Maybe you think, well, this is a stupid course anyways. Why do I have to read this damn paper? And what am I doing in university? And what's the point of life? It's like you can really get going if you're trying to avoid doing your homework. And
42.
And then you might think, well, what is it in you that's trying to avoid? Because after all, you took the damn course and you told yourself to sit down. Why don't you listen? Well, because you're a mess. That's basically why. You haven't got control over yourself at all.
I'm a mess.
And no more than I have control over this laptop.
You see? Laptops.
Okay, so there's the memory function of the unconscious, and there's the dissolutive function. That's an...
Hold on. Memory function and dissolutive. So by 1900, 4 functions of the unconscious had been described. Conservative. The unconscious stores memories, often inaccessible to voluntary recall. The dissolutive, the unconscious contains habits, once voluntary, now automatized. So they're automatic now, and disassociated elements of the personality, which may lead a parasitic existence. Creative, the unconscious serves as the matrix of new ideas. There you go. Mythopoetic, the unconscious constructs narratives and fantasies that appear mythic or religious in nature. So this is by Ellenberger in 1970, The Discovery of the Unconscious, New York Basic Books. Oh my goodness, I need to learn how to read, guys. I'm getting tongue twisted all over the place. Really?
Okay, so there's the memory function of the unconscious, and there's the dissolutive function. That's an interesting one. The unconscious contains habits, once voluntary, now automatized, and dissociated elements of the personality, which may lead a parasitic existence. That's an interesting one. I would relate that more to procedural memory. You know, so what you've done is practice certain habits, whatever they might be. Let's call them bad habits. And you'd like those things to get under control, but you can't. So maybe when you're speaking, for example, you use like and you know, and you say a lot. And you've practiced that, so you're really good at it. And you'd like to stop it, but you don't get to, because you've built that little machine right into your being, right? It's neurologically wired, and it's not under conscious control. And anything you practice becomes that. It becomes part of you, and that's another element of the unconscious, a different part.
It's interesting that Jordan B. Peterson said that. When I first started doing this, guys, I noticed that I said all the time, and that's something to do with anxiety, nerves, etc., etc. But I don't say almost 90%. I've stopped saying the word all the time, which is fantastic. I think it's only because I've started to do this, and I've started to speak, and I've started to become quite comfortable with how I speak and how the words flow, the cadence, etc., etc. But I remember when I first started doing this, guys, I said all the time. It was awful, guys, really awful. So with our man JBP saying this is learned behavior, it's true. And he said like muscle memory, so it comes back again and again, like as, you know, like, well, all those sort of words. Very interesting.
And then there's a creative part, which is that, well, you know, you're sitting around and maybe you're trying to write something, or maybe you want to produce a piece of art or a piece of music, or maybe you're just laying in bed dreaming, and you have all these weird ideas, and especially in dreams, it's like, where do those things come from? And even more strange, one of the things that's really weird about dreams, and almost impossibly weird, is that you're an observer in the dream.
Yes.
It's like a dream is something that happens to you.
Absolutely.
Well, you're dreaming it, theoretically. So how is it that you can be an observer? It's almost like you're watching a video game or a movie.
It's weird. Our man JBP said that. It's like you're an observer in your own dream. And not only have I been an observer in the dream, but sometimes I've been a director. So I literally direct the next few scenes, or I wake up and I remember what was in the dream, and I go back asleep, and then I start my dream again from where I left it at. That's happened over the last few days, and I said to you guys before, until I was about 13, I don't even remember dreaming, although I had one recurring nightmare. But I think that was only after I started to dream. But as a child, I used to like black out, just say black out, and then I wake up, and I had no recollection or correlation of anything I did in those hours when I was asleep. But that is incredible when our man JBP is just saying sometimes you're an observer in your dream. But even further than that, sometimes I've been the director and even sometimes the narrator of some of my dreams. Really? Guys, if any of you have had the same, let me know here in the comment section. I am learning so much, guys. I'm learning so much.
that happens to you. Well, you're dreaming it, theoretically. So how is it that you can be an observer? It's almost like you're watching a video game or a movie, but you're producing it, at least in principle, although the psychoanalysts would say, well, no, not exactly. Your ego isn't producing it. Your unconscious is producing it. It's a different thing. It's a different thing. And of course, Jung would say, well, it's deeper than that. The collective unconscious might be producing it. It's in some sense, it isn't you exactly, or it isn't the you that you think of when you think of you. And that's the ego from the Freudian perspective, the you that you identify with. That's the ego. And outside of that is the unconscious. The id, that's more the place of impulses. And you could think about those as the biological subsystems that can derail your thinking, right? And that govern things like hunger and sex and aggression and your basic instincts is another way of putting it. And it's a reasonable way of thinking about it because these are subsystems that you share with animals. You share them certainly with mammals. You share most of them with reptiles. You share a lot of them with amphibians, and even going all the way down to crustaceans. There's commonality, for example, in the dominance hierarchy circuits. And so these are very, very old things. And the idea that you're in control of them is, well, you're not exactly in control of them. And I would say the less integrated you are, the less you're in control of them, and the more they're in control of you. And that can get really out of hand. You know, you can be like with people who have obsessive compulsive disorder, for example, which seems to be, I would say, the dissolutive elements in some sense of the unconscious, the way that it's portrayed here. Poor people with obsessive compulsive disorder, they can spend half their time doing things that they can't really control, and they have very strong impulses to do them, and it's very hard on them to block them. You know, they'll almost panic if those things are blocked. And then you have people with Tourette's syndrome, you know, that they'll be doing all sorts of weird dances and spouting off obscenities and imitating people without being able to control it, and sometimes a little bit of antipsychotic medication can dampen that down, but it's as if there are these autonomous semi-spirits inside of them that grip control over their behavior and make them do things. And you know, you find that to some degree in your own life, because maybe you've become very attracted to someone, even maybe you don't want to be attracted to the person, and then you find yourself, you know, texting them when you know perfectly well that you should be going to bed, and you know, you're in a grip of something, and you can't control it, and that's all part of the unconscious and all part of what Freud was studying.
That was interesting, guys. I really think I want to see the full, I don't know how long the full one is of this, but this was our man Jordan B. Peterson, and he's talking about why it's so hard to sit down and work. And there was so much that I can take from this, you know, this little 5-minute piece here. That was really interesting. A lot of it related to me. I can see myself in a lot of this, guys. Guys, I hope you like that. So here at Urb'n Barz, we don't just bring you the music, but we sometimes bring you some insight and some intellect as well, guys, because we want to, you know, the whole 9 yards from all over. So if you know anyone else, Jordan B. Peterson, Thomas Sorrell, you know, who else, just let me know. Let me know in the comment section, guys, and we will dive in and check out what they've got to say, because each day is a learning day, guys. And you know what? I like to learn a little bit each and every day. So this is our man JBP, and this was his talk about why it's so hard to sit down and work. And guys, I agree with him 100%. If you like what you're hearing, you like what you're seeing, guys, please subscribe to my channel here at Urb'n Barz. Please like, share, comment down below here in the comment section, guys, and make certain you come back to the next Urb'n Barz reaction, guys. I'm out.